Hi guys, I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Erica. We did our study on a Daily Mail article that was titled Magic Mushrooms May One Day Treat Depression. The question of the article was, can psilocybin treat depression? And the answer is some scientists believe so. The article examined an upcoming study for next year by London-based startup company Compass Pathways. The study will be focused on those with treatment-resistant depression. The article also claimed that 1 in 3 people with depression do not respond well to current treatments.
The study is planning to assess psilocybin in 400 depressed patients. The trial will be conducted in 8 European countries over 3 months. They plan on using some kind of digital technology to determine the patient's response to the substance, but they haven't said what kind of technology they're going to use. The key thing here is that the study's design is still subject to regulatory approval.
The article that we read was a Daily Mail article, so it wasn't extremely reputable. It was very pop science-y. It didn't have any actual scientific information in it or any explanation of key terms. Also, they had something weird about how scientists know that psilocybin is safe because of recreational use. But as we know, a lot of drugs are used recreationally and they're not safe.
Okay, so I read a study that looked at anxiety and depression in patients with cancer. It is known that anxiety and depression are associated with poor psychiatric and medical outcomes. So to try and find a solution to this, researchers suggested the use of psilocybin to treat cancer-related anxiety and depression. The study involved 29 patients with cancer-related depression. The design used was a double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover trial. Each patient was randomly assigned to either be administered a single dose of psilocybin, the placebo niacin, or both along with psychotherapy. They found that psilocybin produced immediate, extensive, and sustained improvements with depression. These results led to decreased cancer-related demoralization and hopelessness, as well as improved spiritual well-being and quality of life. On the 6.5-month follow-up, researchers found that patients that had been administered a single dose of psilocybin along with psychotherapy had antidepressant effects. The researchers noted that the single-dose psilocybin induced a magical experience mediated on the therapeutic effects of the drug on depression and anxiety. In conclusion, the researchers found that with psychotherapy, single moderate dose psilocybin produced rapid, robust, and enduring antidepressant effects in patients with cancer-related anxiety and depression.
What a great study, Caitlin. My study was from the Journal of Humanistic Psychology. It was titled Patients' Accounts of Increased Connectedness and Acceptance After Psilocybin for Treatment-Resistant Depression. It was done this year. It talked about how a lot of the studying has been halted for psychedelics since the 1960s and 70s. But recently, since the 90s, some different colleges have been focusing on psychedelics and how they can impact mental health. In this study, 20 patients with treatment-resistant depression, which they defined as those who've had at least 2 different antidepressants that haven't worked for them, were given a small dose of 10 milligrams of psilocybin and then a larger dose at a different point in time of 25 milligrams. Each patient was also allocated 2 experienced clinicians to guide them through the journey. During the dosing sessions, patients reclined on a bed, they wore eye shades, and they were given soft music to listen to. The guides were there to provide support, check in with them, see how they were feeling. They also gave gentle reassurance if anyone got distressed or scared, and just let them know to accept what was going on and surrender to the drug effects. And anyway, so post-sessions after these drug-taking trips, they were given interviews, and one happened a week after, and then they had a 6-month follow-up interview about depression, and they discovered that 15 out of 20 of the patients claimed that their depression had decreased substantially. Depression in the study had been defined as a type of disconnectedness from the self, from the world, and from others around you. After treatment, participants had an increase in feeling of connectedness. The study also looked at avoidance of emotions and avoidance of depressive thoughts. Many participants with depression talked about how they avoided a lot of things. But after the study, they reported that they had an increase in feelings of acceptance of emotion, acceptance of their depression, and acceptance of life in general. Many patients described their depression in terms of metaphor, and after the treatment, a similar theme arose of feeling like a light switch had gone on in their mind. Many patients also felt that traditional treatments like medications and also talk therapy hadn't really worked for them. In fact, some believed that it made their depression worse. Many felt like depression or their medications, again, worsened their depression and gave them suicidal thoughts and led to avoidance behavior. They also had a lot of negative experience with talk therapy, and they felt like they weren't really being heard when they had talk therapy, and so they felt like this experience was a lot better. The study concluded that psilocybin is a potentially viable option for treatment-resistant depression, although more research is needed and is being conducted.
Also, I just wanted to add that my article was from the Journal of Psychopharmacology, and it was in 2016. Thanks, guys.